The crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow across the Montgomery dining room. Steam rose from the perfectly roasted turkey centerpiece as my mother-in-law Eleanor Montgomery surveyed her Thanksgiving table with critical eyes. "Harper, dear. The napkin folds this way," she corrected, demonstrating with sharp, practiced movements. My 12-year-old daughter nodded silently, her dark eyes downcast as she adjusted her napkin. I squeezed her hand under the table. Liam, my husband, cleared his throat. "Everything looks wonderful, Mother." Eleanor's phone chimed. Her perfectly manicured fingers swiped the screen, her expression darkening. "Olivia says there are questions about Harper's painting at the exhibition." Her voice carried that particular chill I'd come to recognize. "About her background." "Harper won that spot because of her talent," I said evenly. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "The Montgomery artistic gift runs in our blood." Harper's small voice broke through. "I'm sorry if I embarrassed you." Eleanor's phone chimed again. Something changed in her eyes. "Olivia says there are rumors about Harper's adoption." Her voice hardened. Questions about whether proper procedures were followed. Harper's eyes filled with tears. "I should go." "Yes, perhaps you should." Eleanor suddenly shouted, her composure shattering. "You're not even my real grandchild." The crystal glasses trembled. Harper's tear fell onto the family china. My husband sat frozen, silent, staring at his plate. The grandfather clock ticked loudly in the shocked silence. I stood slowly, reaching for my handbag. The worn manila envelope felt heavy in my hands as I placed it on the table. "You're right, Eleanor," I said calmly. "It's time we stopped pretending." Liam looked up, confused. "Meredith, what are you doing?" I pulled out the first photograph from the envelope. "Eleanor, there's something about Harper's mother that you need to see." The photograph trembled slightly in my hand as I placed it on the table. It showed a woman with kind eyes and a determined smile, Luna Blackwood, Harper's biological mother, my former colleague, and the woman whose life had intersected with the Montgomerys in ways none of us fully understood until now. Silence hung over the dining table as I gathered my thoughts. How do you begin to unravel a story 15 years in the making? The lavish Thanksgiving spread before us seemed to mock the gravity of the moment, cranberry sauce too bright, turkey too perfect, everything a carefully orchestrated illusion of family harmony. Eleanor's knuckles whitened around her wine glass. "I don't know what you think you're implying." "I'm not implying anything, Eleanor," I said gently. "I have DNA test results, medical records, and adoption papers. But most convincingly, I have this." I pulled the second document from my envelope, a birth certificate from nearly 50 years ago. The birth certificate lay on the table. Eleanor's hand hovered over it, trembling. "This is absurd," she whispered. I traveled back in my mind to 15 years ago, when everything began. The rain poured as I hurried into Brightwood Children's Center for my first day. Fresh from graduate school, psychology degree in hand. "Meredith Russell?" "I'm Luna Blackwood." Luna had a magnetic presence, intelligent eyes, warm smile, 10 years my senior. Her office walls displayed children's artwork alongside her degrees. An easel stood in the corner. "You paint?" I asked. "I grew up in foster care," she explained. "Art helped me process what I couldn't say. Luna taught me more about child psychology than any textbook." She could connect with the most traumatized children, sitting silently painting with a mute boy until he finally reached for her brush, calming a violent teenager with just her presence. "How do you do it?" I asked once. "I recognize myself in them," she answered. "When you've been where they are, you speak their language." Luna rarely mentioned her origins. "Some doors are better left closed," she'd say when I asked. But I noticed how she'd stare at certain paintings during our visits to the Montgomery Museum of Fine Arts. "The brushwork reminds me of someone," she once murmured, studying a landscape painting for 20 minutes. 6 months later, Luna briefly dated an architect working on Brightwood's renovation. When he left for Singapore, she never mentioned him again. 3 months after that, she told me she was pregnant. "I'm keeping the baby," she said firmly. "I've spent my life wondering about my origins. I won't let my child do the same." When Harper was born, named for Luna's favorite author, she became our shared joy. I visited often, helping with feedings, watching Harper develop Luna's artistic temperament. For 3 years, we continued this way. Then came the devastating diagnosis, a rare genetic neurological condition. Terminal. "Of all the things my birth mother could have given me," Luna said bitterly. As her condition worsened, I became her caregiver and Harper's second mother. One evening, with Harper sleeping between us, Luna grasped my hand. "Promise me you'll keep her," she whispered. "Don't let her go into the system. Don't let her wonder about her worth like I did." I promised through tears. 2 months later, Luna passed away peacefully with Harper and me beside her. She left behind journals, artwork, and a jewelry box containing a tarnished bracelet, her only connection to her unknown past. At the memorial, 4-year-old Harper asked, "Are you going to leave me too?" "No," I promised. "I'll always be here." The adoption was expedited. Within months, Harper was legally my daughter. A year later, I met Liam Westbrook at a Brightwood fundraiser. His architectural firm had donated services for the new wing. His kindness toward Harper won me over, and after 2 years, we got married. Meeting his mother was different. From the moment she saw Harper, something strange crossed her face, recognition quickly masked by assessment. "She's artistically inclined?" Eleanor asked, watching Harper sketch. "Her birth mother was talented," I replied. "Blood will tell," Eleanor murmured, studying Harper with disturbing intensity. I pulled myself back to the present, to our tense Thanksgiving table. "This birth certificate belongs to a baby girl born to an unmarried young woman from a prominent family," I explained. "A baby given up to protect the family reputation." Eleanor's face was ashen. Liam looked confused. "That baby grew up to be Luna Blackwood, Harper's biological mother." I paused. "And according to DNA tests and these records, Luna was your daughter, Eleanor. Which makes Harper your biological granddaughter." The room fell silent as the impossible truth settled over us all. That's not possible," Eleanor finally whispered, but the fear in her eyes told a different story. "I wasn't looking for this connection," I said gently. "It found me." I explained how I discovered the truth, finding the matching bracelet in Eleanor's jewelry box during a visit, noticing Harper's artistic style mirroring paintings in the Montgomery family collection, the uncanny resemblances that went beyond coincidence. "The final proof came from the DNA test," I said. "Harper is your blood relative, Eleanor. The granddaughter you've been rejecting is the child of the daughter you gave away." Liam stared at his mother, decades of family history rewriting itself in his mind. "Mother? Is this true?" Eleanor's carefully constructed world was crumbling. Her hands shook as she reached for her wine glass. "It was 1970, she finally said, her voice barely audible. "I was 19. The family name, my father's political ambitions, there was no choice." Harper watched with wide eyes, understanding for the first time that this story was about her origins, about why the elegant woman across the table had always kept her at arm's length. "I never knew what happened to her," Eleanor continued. "The adoption was closed. I wasn't supposed to know anything. I wasn't supposed to ever see her again." "But you did," I said quietly. "Through Harper." The truth hung in the air between us, a truth that would forever change who we were as a family. I never meant to give her up. Eleanor's whispered confession hung in the silence. The perfectly arranged Thanksgiving table now seemed like a stage set, with food growing cold as the family drama unfolded. I was studying art at Bennington, she continued, her voice strengthening with each word, as if relieved to finally speak a truth long buried. I fell in love with a visiting artist from Spain. Antonio. When I discovered I was pregnant, I hid it as long as I could. Liam sat motionless, hearing his mother's hidden past for the first time. My father was running for Senate. The scandal would have destroyed his campaign. Eleanor's fingers traced the rim of her wine glass. I was sent to a private facility upstate. After the baby was born, I was told she would go to a good family, that it was best for everyone if I forgot she existed. Did you? I asked quietly. Forget? Eleanor's eyes met mine. Not for a single day. Harper, who had been silent throughout this revelation, finally spoke. Did my mother know? That you were her birth mother? Eleanor shook her head. The records were sealed. I was never supposed to know where she went, and she was never supposed to know where she came from. I thought back to Luna's life, to the questions that had haunted her. After giving birth, I returned to school, finished my degree, Eleanor continued. I married Charles Montgomery the following year. His family had connections, status. He knew about my past and agreed never to speak of it. So my father. Liam began. Charles loved you as his own, Eleanor said quickly. You were his son in every way that mattered. I noticed she didn't directly answer the question of Liam's paternity. When I became pregnant with you, she told Liam, it felt like a second chance. I threw myself into being the perfect mother, the perfect wife. I locked away the pain, the memories. Looking at Harper, Eleanor's composed facade cracked further. The first time I saw you, I felt something, a strange familiarity I couldn't explain. It terrified me. Harper's eyes widened. Is that why you were always so cold to me? I couldn't allow myself to examine that feeling, Eleanor admitted. Something about you reminded me of my younger self, your artistic talent especially. It stirred memories I'd spent decades trying to bury. Memories rearranged themselves in my mind, Eleanor's excessive criticism of Harper, her constant undermining, her strange fixation on Harper's artwork. It hadn't been simple snobbery, it had been fear. Fear of a past returning to haunt her. Luna always wondered about you, I said softly. She had this bracelet. I withdrew the tarnished silver piece from my envelope. She believed it might have belonged to her birth mother. Eleanor's hand flew to her throat. I left it with her. They said I couldn't leave anything, but I slipped it into her blanket. A small piece of me to go with her. Liam finally found his voice. Why didn't you ever tell me I had a sister? I convinced myself. It was kinder, to you, to her, to everyone, to keep the secret. Eleanor's perfect composure had crumbled entirely. After your father died, there seemed even less reason to unearth the past. I retrieved the final item from my envelope, Luna's death certificate. Luna died never knowing who she came from, I said. But she made me promise that Harper would always know her story, her worth. Harper stood suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. So you're really my grandmother? She asked Eleanor directly. Eleanor nodded, tears finally spilling onto her perfectly made-up face. And all this time, you've been treating me like I didn't belong, when actually. Harper's voice broke. I was terrified, Eleanor whispered. Something about you always unsettled me, stirred feelings I couldn't understand. Now I know why. You're a living reminder of the daughter I never knew, the choice I can never undo. Liam moved to Harper's side, placing his hand on her shoulder, the first truly paternal gesture I'd seen from him since the revelations began. "Harper is family," he said firmly. "Blood relation or not, she's been my daughter since the day I married Meredith. But knowing she's also my niece, Luna's daughter." His voice trailed off, emotions overwhelming him. Eleanor rose shakily. She crossed to Harper, moving with uncertainty I'd never before seen in this confident woman. "I have no right to ask for your forgiveness," she said to Harper. "I failed your mother. And I've failed you." Harper stood still, years of rejection warring with this new understanding. "I don't know how I feel," she admitted honestly. "That's fair," I said, joining them. "None of us expected to discover this truth today." Eleanor reached tentatively toward Harper, then pulled back. "All those times I criticized your art. I was seeing her in you. Seeing myself. It frightened me how talented you are, how talented she must have been." "She was amazing," Harper said quietly. "My mother, Luna, she could paint anything." For the first time, the name Luna seemed to resonate through Eleanor, connecting her to the daughter she had never known. "Would you?" Eleanor hesitated. "Would you show me her work sometime? I have nothing of hers. Nothing but memories of a newborn I held for 10 minutes before they took her away." Harper nodded slowly. "I have her sketchbooks. Her paintings." Outside, snow continued to fall, transforming the landscape. Inside, a family was being transformed just as completely, painful truths laying the foundation for something new to be built. "There's so much to process," Liam said, looking between his mother, his wife, and Harper. "So much history. We never knew." "Yes," I agreed. "But knowing the truth is the first step toward healing." As we stood together in that dining room, the traditional Thanksgiving meal forgotten, I realized that family isn't just who we're born to, it's who we choose to become together, even after secrets and pain. Especially then. A week after our disastrous Thanksgiving, I found myself alone with Eleanor at the Montgomery estate. Liam had taken Harper to her art class, an activity now carrying new significance. "Thank you for coming," Eleanor said, leading me into her private study. Art books lined the walls, and a small easel stood near the window, dusty from disuse. "You used to paint," I observed. "Another life I abandoned," she replied, opening a leather portfolio on her desk. "There's something I need to show you." Inside were sketches, dozens of them, all of the same child at different ages. "I drew her from memory," Eleanor explained. "Every year on her birthday. I tried to imagine how she might look as she grew." The sketches progressed from infant to toddler to young woman. All signed with just E and a date. "You never forgot Luna," I said. "How could I?" Her perfect composure had vanished. "She was part of me." Eleanor unlocked a small cabinet with a key she wore around her neck. From within, she withdrew a box containing newspaper clippings, exhibition announcements from small galleries. Eleanor was listed among featured artists. After giving Luna up, I channeled everything into art. My father disapproved, but I couldn't stop. It was my only connection to her. She touched the clippings gently. "Then I met Charles. He offered stability. I put away my pains and became who I was expected to be. Like mother, like daughter," I said softly. "Luna found healing through art too." Eleanor nodded, tears threatening. "There's more." She showed me a folder of printouts, exhibition catalogs, and articles featuring Luna's community art therapy work. "How did you find these?" I asked. "I have connections in the art world," she answered. "After you left on Thanksgiving, I spent all night searching for anything with her name." One article included a photograph of Luna beside a children's mural at Brightwood. I remembered that day clearly. "She looks like you," I said. Eleanor nodded. I keep thinking of all the years wasted. You couldn't have known, I said, surprised to find myself comforting her. But I could have looked, Eleanor countered. After my father died, there was nothing stopping me. Just cowardice. I need to know everything about her, Meredith. My daughter. For the next hour, I shared stories about Luna, her dedication to the children, her artistic process, her strength during illness, her love for Harper. She never stopped wondering about you, I told Eleanor. She believed everyone deserves to know their origins, even when that story is complicated. And now Harper knows, Eleanor said. Yes, though she's still processing it. I've spent years pushing her away, afraid of what I might feel if I truly saw her. How do I begin to make amends? We heard the front door open, Liam and Harper returning. Eleanor gathered the sketches, hesitating. Don't hide them, I said. It's time for the truth to shine. No more secrets. Harper appeared in the doorway, clutching her portfolio. She looked uncertain, still adjusting to seeing Eleanor as her grandmother rather than just her difficult in-law. How was class? I asked. Good. We started drawing portraits. Eleanor's eyes lit up, but she remained quiet. What's all this? Liam asked, indicating the papers. History, Eleanor answered, turning to Harper. Your history, if you'd like to see it. Harper stepped forward. Is that my mother? Eleanor nodded, passing her Luna's photograph. And these are drawings I made, imagining her growing up. Something shifted in Harper's expression. You never forgot her. Never, Eleanor confirmed. Just as she never forgot you. I watched as Harper examined the sketches. The family resemblance across 3 generations was suddenly striking, the same jawline, the same thoughtful eyes. I have something too, Harper said. She opened her portfolio and removed a canvas. It was a portrait of Luna working at an easel, sunlight illuminating her profile. I'm painting her from photographs, Harper explained. So I don't forget what she looked like. Eleanor's breath caught. May I? She asked, reaching toward the canvas. Harper nodded. You have her gift, Eleanor said softly. And techniques I recognize from my own work, years ago. Really? Eleanor nodded. The way you handle light, it's in our blood, it seems. Our blood. The acknowledgement of their connection, unknown but real, hung in the air. That afternoon marked the beginning of something new. As Liam and I prepared dinner, Eleanor showed Harper her collection of art books, pointing out techniques that had influenced her early work. The past couldn't be erased, but something hopeful was growing from the shattered pieces of our family narrative. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, Liam and I brought Harper to the Montgomery estate for dinner, our first planned gathering since the revelation. The atmosphere was tense but civil, each of us still finding our footing in this new family reality. I've been doing some research, Eleanor announced as we finished the main course. She rose and retrieved a leather-bound album from a nearby shelf. About Luna's condition. My hand instinctively reached for Harper's under the table. This was still raw territory. The neurological disorder that took Luna's life, Eleanor continued, opening the album, runs in the Montgomery family. My great-aunt died of the same disease. As did her father before her. Liam leaned forward. Are you saying it's hereditary? Eleanor nodded. A genetic mutation that apparently goes back generations. I had no idea I was a carrier. She turned to Harper. But Dr. Harrison, the specialist I consulted, says he can test to confirm you don't have the marker. We already did those tests, I said. After Luna was diagnosed. And? Eleanor's voice was tight with concern. Harper doesn't carry the gene, I assured her. Luna made sure of that immediately. Relief washed visibly over Eleanor's face. She closed the album, which I now realized contained family medical records. I should have known, she said softly. Should have made the connection when news of her illness reached me. Liam looked up sharply. You knew Luna was sick? Eleanor's gaze dropped to her hands. Olivia Hartford's daughter serves on the board of Brightwood. She mentioned the founder of their art therapy program had passed away from a rare neurological condition. And you didn't think that might be significant? Liam's voice had an edge I rarely heard. I didn't allow myself to think it could be her, Eleanor replied. I'd become quite skilled at not connecting dots. I didn't want connected. The silence that followed was broken by Harper. Did you ever try to find her? Before it was too late? Eleanor's composed facade cracked slightly. 3 times. When I turned 40. When my father died. When Charles died. She took a careful breath. Each time, I got as far as contacting an agency. Each time, I convinced myself it would be selfish, disrupting her life to ease my conscience. Luna would have wanted to know you, I said quietly. Do you really believe that? Eleanor asked. I considered the question honestly. Yes. She had questions her entire life. Knowing her birth mother, knowing you, would have meant everything to her. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. Another failure on my part, then. You can't change the past, Liam said, his first direct contribution to the conversation. But we have Harper. His simple statement shifted something in the room. Harper wasn't just Luna's legacy, she was the living connection between all of us. I've been thinking, Eleanor said, regaining her composure. About the Montgomery Family Foundation. We've primarily funded traditional arts education, but I'd like to propose a new initiative supporting art therapy programs for children in foster care. I recognize the gesture for what it was, not just philanthropy, but a tribute to Luna and her work. That would be fitting, I replied. Would you consider consulting on it? Eleanor asked me directly. With your background in child psychology and your knowledge of Luna's methods. The invitation surprised me. I'd be honored. Harper, who had been quiet for most of the exchange, suddenly spoke up. Could I help too? I've been thinking about what Luna did. Maybe I could volunteer with the younger kids. Eleanor's expression softened in a way I'd never seen before. I think that would be perfect. After dinner, while Liam helped Eleanor with coffee, Harper wandered to the grand piano in the corner of the living room. Almost absent-mindedly, she began to play a hauntingly beautiful melody I didn't recognize. Did you teach her? Eleanor asked, entering with the coffee tray. I shook my head. Luna played it. Harper must have picked it up from her. Eleanor set down the tray with trembling hands. I could play it too. Before I gave it all up to become a proper Montgomery wife. She crossed to the piano, hesitating before sitting beside Harper on the bench. May I? Harper nodded, shifting to make room. Eleanor's fingers, still elegant despite her age, joined Harper's on the keys. The melody transformed into a duet, grandmother and granddaughter, creating something new together. I caught Liam's eye across the room. His expression mirrored my own, wonder mixed with the bittersweet understanding of what had been lost, what might have been, and what still could be. Later that night, as we drove home, Harper was unusually thoughtful. Do you think my mother would be angry? She finally asked. That I'm getting to know her. I chose my words carefully. Luna believed in healing, in second chances. She spent her life helping people rebuild bridges they thought were permanently burned. But Eleanor abandoned her. Yes, I acknowledged. And that caused pain that can't be undone. But Luna also understood that people make terrible choices for complicated reasons. Harper considered this. I'm not ready to call her grandmother. You don't have to. This is your journey, Harper. You get to decide what this relationship becomes, if anything. She nodded, looking out at the winter landscape passing by our car windows. I like how she talks about art. Like it's something important. Something that matters. It does matter, I said. Art saved Luna in many ways. It's saving Eleanor now, giving her a way to connect with you. And maybe it will help all of us find a way forward. In the rearview mirror, I caught Liam's glance, proud, concerned, loving. Our family had been fundamentally altered, but perhaps we were finally building it on a foundation of truth rather than secrets. When we arrived home, Harper went straight to her room. A few minutes later, I noticed light under her door. Knocking softly, I found her at her desk, sketching intently. "What are you working on?" I asked. She showed me the drawing, 3 women's profiles, overlapping slightly. I recognized Eleanor's elegant features, Luna's determined expression, and Harper's own youthful face. 3 generations, connected by blood and bone structure, separated by time and choices. "It's beautiful," I said. "I think I understand her better now," Harper said, adding subtle shading to Eleanor's jawline. "Why she was so cold to me. She was scared." "Yes," I agreed. "Fear makes people do hurtful things. Does knowing make it hurt less?" She asked, looking up at me with eyes so like Luna's. "Not always," I admitted. "But understanding can be the first step toward forgiveness. If that's something you want to consider someday." Harper returned to her drawing. "I'm not there yet. You don't have to be. There's no timeline for processing something like this." As I turned to leave, Harper called my name. "Mom?" I paused. She rarely called me that directly. "Thank you for finding the truth. Even when it was hard." I blinked back sudden tears. "Always, sweetheart. Always." The weeks following our discovery passed in a blur of uncomfortable conversations and cautious new beginnings. Liam had taken the revelation particularly hard, withdrawing into his work and spending long hours at his downtown office. "He won't talk to me about it," I confided to my colleague Sarah over coffee. "Every time I bring up Eleanor or Luna, he changes the subject." "He's processing," Sarah said, stirring her latte. "Finding out you had a sister you never knew about, that's not something anyone can just absorb overnight." "I'm worried about Harper. She needs him present right now." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "Have you considered family therapy? This situation affects all of you in different ways." Her suggestion led to our first session with Dr. Bennett, a family therapist specializing in adoption issues. In that neutral space, Liam finally expressed what had been troubling him. "I keep thinking about how different my life was from Luna's," he admitted. "I had everything: private schools, family connections, financial security. And my sister had none of that." "You didn't know," I reminded him gently. "But Mother knew," he countered, anger finally breaking through his usual restraint. "She made a choice that gave me everything and Luna nothing." Dr. Bennett leaned forward. "It sounds like you're experiencing survivor's guilt." Liam looked startled by the term, then nodded slowly. "I suppose I am." In subsequent sessions, we began addressing the complex emotions surrounding our new family reality. Harper, too, participated, gradually finding words for her conflicted feelings about Eleanor. "I'm angry that she rejected me," Harper said during our third session. "But I also feel sad for her. For what she lost." "Both of those feelings can coexist," Dr. Bennett assured her. "There's no right way to process this." One evening after therapy, Liam broke his silence about work. "I've been redesigning the new wing at Brightwood," he said, spreading blueprints across our dining table. "I want to name it after Luna. The plans showed a beautiful, light-filled space dedicated to art therapy, a physical memorial to the sister he never knew. Luna would have loved this, I told him, recognizing the healing that had begun in his heart. Eleanor, too, was changing. She began visiting our home regularly, initially with formal invitations and awkward conversation, gradually relaxing into a more natural relationship with Harper. They started with small art projects, Eleanor showing Harper techniques she'd learned in her youth, before giving up painting to become a Montgomery wife. "Your brushwork reminds me of myself at your age," she told Harper one afternoon as they worked side by side on watercolor landscapes. The comment contained no criticism, only connection. I watched from the doorway as Harper absorbed this, a small smile forming. "Luna always said I had a natural eye for composition." "She was right," Eleanor replied softly. "She must have had it too." These moments of connection were interspersed with difficult conversations about the past, but each interaction built a foundation of truth where only silence had existed before. While forgiveness wouldn't come quickly or easily, understanding had begun to take root. As spring arrived, bringing new life to the gardens surrounding both our home and the Montgomery estate, we established a tentative new normal. Sunday dinners at Eleanor's became a tradition, still sometimes tense, but increasingly genuine. During one such dinner, Eleanor surprised us all by raising her glass in a toast. "To Luna," she said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes, "who created something beautiful in her short life. And to new beginnings for those she left behind." After dinner, Harper found me alone in the garden. "I have something to show you," she said, leading me to the greenhouse where Eleanor cultivated rare orchids. Inside, on a previously empty bench, stood an easel with a covered canvas. "Eleanor's been helping me with this," Harper explained, removing the cloth. The painting took my breath away, a portrait of Luna based on photographs, but with a luminous quality that captured her essence. In the background, subtly incorporated into the composition, were elements representing all of us: Liam's architectural drafting tools, my psychology books, Harper's sketchpad, and an elegant silver bracelet that could only be Eleanor's gift to her infant daughter. "It's for the Luna Blackwood wing at Brightwood," Harper explained. "Liam asked if I would create something for the entrance." I couldn't speak past the lump in my throat, so I simply hugged her. "I'm still angry sometimes," Harper whispered. "But I'm also grateful to know where I come from. Who I come from." That night, as Liam and I prepared for bed, he seemed lighter than he had in months. "I spoke with Mother about the foundation today," he said. "We're establishing a scholarship for foster children pursuing arts education. In Luna's name." I nodded, recognizing the healing in this gesture. "She would have loved that." "I'll never know her," Liam said softly. "But through Harper, through this work, maybe I can honor who she was." Outside our window, spring rain fell gently, washing away the last traces of winter, a season of revelation and pain giving way to possibilities for renewal and growth. 1 year after the Thanksgiving that changed everything, we gathered again around Eleanor's dining table. The tension that had characterized our previous holiday was replaced by something more complex, not perfect harmony, but a hard-won understanding. The table settings were simpler this year. Eleanor had abandoned some of the formality that had always created distance between us. Harper had helped arrange the centerpiece, fall flowers interspersed with small paintbrushes, a symbolic nod to the artistic legacy that connected 3 generations of women. "I received a letter from the Brightwood board yesterday," Eleanor announced as we settled into our meal. "The Luna Blackwood wing will be ready for dedication next month." Liam nodded, pride evident in his expression. His design for the art therapy space had evolved over months of collaboration with the center's staff and with Harper, who had provided insight into what Luna might have wanted. "They've asked if someone from the family would speak at the ceremony," Eleanor continued, her gaze moving between us. "That should be you, Harper," Liam said immediately. "You knew her best." Harper looked up from her plate, surprised. At 13, she'd grown more confident over the past year, but public speaking still intimidated her. I wouldn't know what to say, she admitted. You could share what her work meant to the children she helped, I suggested gently. Or what she meant to you. Eleanor set down her fork carefully. Perhaps we could speak together. If you'd be comfortable with that, Harper. I could talk about the Foundation's commitment to continuing her work, and you could share your personal memories. The suggestion, this acknowledgement of their shared connection to Luna, hung in the air between them. Harper considered it, then nodded slowly. I think Mom would have liked that. The simple word Mom carried such weight, a reminder of the woman missing from our table, the invisible thread connecting us all. After dinner, Eleanor presented Harper with a carefully wrapped package. This belonged to the Montgomery women for generations, she explained as Harper unwrapped an antique silver locket. I should have given it to Luna. I'd like you to have it now. Inside the locket, Eleanor had placed a miniature version of Harper's portrait of Luna on one side. The other side remained empty. For whatever future you choose, Eleanor explained. Your own art, perhaps. Or someday, someone you love. Harper's fingers traced the intricate engraving on the silver surface. Thank you, she said simply, but the words contained volumes. Later that evening, as we helped clear the dishes, Liam pulled me aside. I found something in Father's old papers, he said quietly, showing me a faded newspaper clipping. I think Mother needs to see this. The article, dated shortly after Luna's birth, detailed Charles Montgomery's substantial anonymous donation to a children's aid society. The timing couldn't be coincidental. He knew, I whispered. Liam nodded. And he supported organizations that might have helped her, even if he couldn't acknowledge her directly. When we shared the discovery with Eleanor, she pressed trembling fingers to her lips. Charles never spoke of it. Never gave any indication. He cared in his own way, Liam said. Even if it wasn't enough. Eleanor nodded, accepting this new piece of her past with quiet dignity. There were so many silences between us. So many things unsaid. As we prepared to leave, Harper lingered in the entryway, studying the family photographs that lined the wall, images that now told a different story than the one she'd believed for years. I've been thinking, she said as Eleanor joined her. Next year for Thanksgiving, maybe we could start some new traditions. Something that honors where we've all come from, but also who we're becoming. I'd like that very much, Eleanor replied. Outside, the first snow of the season had begun to fall, transforming the landscape. As we drove home through the gentle flurries, I thought about the journey we'd taken since last Thanksgiving, the painful truths revealed, the bridges cautiously rebuilt, the healing slowly taking root. Do you think we made the right choice? Liam asked, his voice low so Harper couldn't hear from the back seat. Bringing everything to light? I considered the question carefully. I think the truth was always there, waiting. Luna believed that secrets fester, but honesty, even painful honesty, eventually heals. He reached for my hand across the console. You gave Harper her history. We all did, I corrected gently. And in doing so, we found our future. In the rearview mirror, I could see Harper gazing out at the falling snow, the silver locket catching the light as she turned it in her fingers. She was the bridge between what was lost and what remained, carrying Luna's legacy, Eleanor's artistic gift, and her own emerging identity. Family, I realized, isn't just biology or shared history. It's also choice, the daily decision to know each other, to forgive, to begin again. As we pulled into our driveway, the lights of our home glowing warmly against the winter night, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, bound not just by blood, but by truth, and by love that had weathered the harshest storm.